Hello and welcome back to the New Horizons Festival. Today we have an opportunity to speak with Radu Jude. Hello.
Hello.
You came to the festival with actually two films this year, both Continental 25 and 8 postcards from Utopia. So first of all, how do you make so many movies in such a short span of time? Because this year you have the Dracula coming. Last year in Poland, at least, we got your don't promise yourself to don't expect too much over the end of the world. So how are you doing it? Like, you have so many projects at the same time.
Well, yeah, it's true that maybe I exaggerated a little bit, but then, it's interesting that if you look in the history of cinema, there are exceptions with certain speed of work that very fast or very slow. But I think the norm was 1 or 2 films a year. If you look in classical Hollywood, if you look at a director like Michael Curtis, I think he directed 300 feature films or something like that.
Yeah, and also like Altman. He also was a beast.
Maybe 100 or something like that, including the TV movie. So yes, there's a kind of rhythm which is normal to cinema, I think, to make these films. And I think that changed a little bit in the last 30-40 years because of co-production system of funding, which involves waiting a lot for funding from different countries, from different organizations, and that takes longer and longer to happen. So that slows any filmmakers. That's why I do some films with bigger budgets, sometimes with smaller budgets, sometimes independent. But the thing is that also I think Romanian realities create so many situations, human situations, so many stories, that it's interesting to be there just to capture that energy, which of course could be not very good to have a living there in Romania, but is good for narrative arts, for films, for theater, whatever.
Yeah, and you evidently take a lot of inspiration from what is happening right now in Romania. For instance, you in the last picture, the Don't Expect Too Much Over the End of the World, you are kind of spoofing, making fun of Andrew Tate, a person that was he like a big topic in Romania? Because I know he was hiding there for a long time.
Not when we were making the film. When we were shooting the film, he was totally unknown, or mostly unknown by the general audience in Romania. But I have a kid who's now 20 years old, and he was a teenager back then, and because of him, I knew more about Andrew Tate. But then he became quite famous, or let's say he was in the old media, so everybody knows, or most of the people know who he is and what they are up to, and that shows also the weaknesses of Romanian authorities that tolerated this kind of people and their deeds, their illegal deeds, for so many that were so openly shown, so openly made for so long. But when we did the film, we didn't know. We just used that kind of masculinist figure for the discourse of the film.
Okay, so he was just an inspiration, not because of where he was residing and hiding, but because of what he represented. Yes.
I think so, and it was actually the actress Ilinca Manolache, who plays the main character, has this avatar since many years before even Andrew Tate. I always joke with her. I tell her that she created
Andrew Tate
in a way.
Oh, that's this. And do you now, after, because I expect that you did a lot of research into the internet culture for this film, and also 8 postcards from Utopia also seem like something that would be created on YouTube. Like in Polish YouTube, we had this the great mix of YouTube. That was basically something really similar, like songs that sounded that were sung in English but sounded like something in Polish, or like fragments of old ads. So, are you interested in that internet culture?
Yes, I think yes. I don't think I studied it properly, but I'm interested in everything which is connected with images and cinema and actually everything, because everything is interesting, intrinsically interesting. Or if it's not like that, it can open ways to. So yeah, I'm watching a lot of TikTok. I'm watching a lot of Instagram. I love watching a lot of reels, Facebook stories, Instagram stories, Facebook feeds, whatever it is out there. I'm interested. Yes, I'm interested. Not as I said, not to theorize around it that much. Although that's it's quite interesting what happens, but to feed myself and to try to use what I can find there in my films.
I see. And you already said that your films are trying to capture this moment in time in Romania, this crazy times we are living in. But do you maybe feel that some of your older films that were supposed to be satires are becoming outdated because of how ridiculous the reality is becoming with every passing day?
Yeah, well, now the word satire for me is a bit not problematic, but let's say I don't recognize it very much in my work because, well, first of all, satire is a literary genre, not a cinema genre, but doesn't matter. I understand what you mean. Because, for instance, when I made my first film, The Happiest Girl in the World, and I depicted the shooting crew of of a commercial, and with their manner of speaking, I even included real people, and they said it's a satire, and I was that's weird because it's exactly, for me, it's a realistic depiction. It's nothing satirical, but nothing exaggerated, or maybe very little brushes like that. Of course, other films had more satire in it, like Bad Luck Banging or Looney Porn has a third part of it, which is a satire, or
yeah, the third act, especially.
third act. Like... Yeah, but that is because it's inspired by the by the sitcoms, so it's a bit from the origin conceived like that. But yes, so I'm not surprised that sometimes reality or some situations from reality resembles a film or another, or a situation from a film or another. I think because first of all, the source of inspiration was reality, so it's a circular path.
I see. And last year at this festival we had explanation of everything from Gabor Reisz. I don't know if you.
I know who he is, and I want to see this film because I heard it's very good, and many people told me that I would like it.
Yes, but many people were comparing it to your work, and I also had an opportunity to interview Gabor last year, and we spoke a little bit about why his film was so well received in Poland, and we came to this conclusion that that Hungarian, Polish, and Romanian people are having very similar traumas from historical traumas, and like this history of how our systems were being switched, maybe not very successfully. We have similar problems and issues as societies. Do you feel that this is something you are experiencing, that your films are being more are resonating more in certain current countries other than Romania?
Well, I think reception, of course, is very different from country to country, sometimes from city to city, even. But I don't know much about that. Of course, I think there's a similar. The history, especially, is equally important in our countries because we are relatively new countries in a certain way from the state point of view. The creation of the modern state is not very long ago. It's quite recent. So and any discussion about or challenge of the official historical perspective makes sometimes people feel like they are attacked directly in their identity, which of course is not. Nobody's attacking if you question an episode from the Polish history, like the massacre of Jews in Jedwabne. it doesn't mean that Poland is considered a country that should dissolve itself. It's just an honest engagement with the historical problem. So I'm trying to think in these lines. So I see the similarities, but I don't know how they are received. So I mean, I don't follow that much. I don't have the instruments to follow the reception of my films in different countries where they are broadcasted. I mean, here in Wrocław Festival, the reception was very warm for both of my films, and I'm very happy. One of the films is not only mine; it's co-directed with Christian Ferenc Flatz.
Yes, they are both like drastically different pictures.
I hope so.
Yes, I also heard that the Continental 25 was shot in 10 days as a side project during production of Dracula.
Yes, but not as a side project, as a project in itself. I consider them equally important, and the fact that it was less days of shooting doesn't change the nature of that. I think it's... But yes, it was this idea to make the films back to back and to benefit, to use the actors from one, to invite the actors from one to play roles in the other. And it was a more economical possibility. It was a more economical way to do the films, actually. So yeah, so it...
You mentioned that you don't have means necessary to really say how your films are being received in different countries, but at the same time, you did win the golden, the main reward in Berlinale in 2020, and after that you also got the award at Locarno and different festivals. Do you feel that in the last few years, like industry noticed you, or is it something that you don't really pay much attention to? You're just doing your thing.
Yes and no. I mean, I only worked. I only worked hard, and I worked as honestly as I could and as seriously as I could for the films. When I say seriously, I mean trying to go to the end of the proposal as I'm able to understand it, even if it's comic or something. Then the recognition, it appears. I think there's a very tricky thing in our industry, because at some point you can have very easy to be very easily successful very early on. And just I was yesterday at the Critics Academy here near Wrocław, and someone mentioned at some point, I don't know which film, of someone who was a debut film in Cannes like 1 or 2 years ago, and he said, oh, you know, everybody was talking, and like in a few days this unknown filmmaker became huge, and like a huge filmmaker all of a sudden. And I was thinking to myself, that's kind of tricky, because it's weird that in cinema you can make one film and instantly become
the next big thing, right?
The next big thing. And while it doesn't happen in poetry, it doesn't happen in painting. I mean, there's not one painter who painted one painting and everybody said, oh, he's great. You know, a painter has to make, I don't know, at least 100 paintings that somebody notices him or her. It doesn't happen in theater. You know, maybe very rarely with somebody like Cantor here years ago. But nowadays, you know, a theater maker is making maybe one theater play, then he's doing maybe a second one, then maybe he or she gets some award, and then, you know, it's a more healthy way of building a artistic career than in cinema of today, where it's just one film and makes you a master immediately. And I saw this, a lot of people that and if it doesn't happen then with one film, I'm always amazed that people make one film, the first feature film, or sometimes the first short film, and the only thing they want is to be in Berlin or to be in Cannes. While if you look at careers of people like, I don't know, Kiarostami or Aki Kaurismäki or others, they made 5, 6, 10 films which were not recognized in these big festivals until they you know, but nobody thinks, everybody, I have the feeling, the industry pushes people to think in terms of it's now or never, you know. And then what happens when it's, because and that's why I'm a bit reluctant to take this seriously, because I remember I got an award in Berlin, best director for Aferim. That was 10 years ago, and then it was a bit easier to make a new film, or maybe two films, which didn't perform that well from the point of view. I mean, for me, they're films which I'm proud of, but for I don't know, commercially or even artistically in the world of festivals or criticism or art house distribution, they were not so well received. So all of a sudden you could feel how people around you start disappearing, and all of a sudden they say, "Oh, you're successful, but nobody wants to co-produce with you." So for my next film after that, which was Bad Luck Banging or Looney Porn, me and the producer I worked at the time, Ada Solomon, we went to co-production markets in Cinemarkt and in Berlin and other places trying to find co-producers. And people were somehow reluctant, saying, "Oh, but you're an established filmmaker, why you need to go again to Cinemarkt," which is something. I said, "Well, because we are looking for partners and nobody or very few people wants to take part." Why? Because the films before were not so successful. So you feel like a horse in the horse race system, you know. If you're successful, people bet on you. If you lose two many contests, then nobody's betting on you. So, and then if you win again and again, they start betting on you. So the fact that I'm, let's say, in a position which is a little bit easier to have interested people in supporting the films or festivals that invited the films, or you know, it's maybe it's like that, but I feel it's very, very fragile situation, because then so I'm prepared for the time where this won't happen.
So you feel that this is it doesn't matter how much appreciation you get, because it's fleeting.
I think so. Disappear. Yeah, it's fleeting. Yeah, I think it's. But you can see that in the history of cinema. You can see, even if you think of someone like for instance Godard, who had a long career, and I think in the 60s he was all of a sudden, after his first film, a superstar. Then in the 70s, because of his political films, he was totally forgotten. Then in the 80s, little by little, he became important again in different ways. And then in the 90s and 2000s, I think he was very marginal. You know, it's nobody expected a Godard film that like they expect a Yorgos Lanthimos film, or I don't know, very important filmmaker of today. He was marginal. So, and you could see, and I think Fabrice Aragnaud told me once that for Le Livre d'Images, the film center in Switzerland rejected Godard project. So yeah, so you see, it's and my smaller, it's my smaller level. My two new projects, I have two projects that were rejected by the film center in Romania. So. Yeah. So it's ups and downs all the time.
Ups and downs. And as my last question, as we are running out of time, something I always wondered is, in Poland we really love your films. It's something that
Thank you.
Yeah, because we really lack that kind of filmmakers that are looking at the absurd of everything that is going on and are just showing it as kind of a mirror to our own selves. We don't really have those kinds of filmmakers like for 30 years, like last one was 30 years ago, I think. With Barea stepping down, we don't have these kinds of pictures. Skolimowski in some ways, but he's, I think, like very, very art housey for that, you know. And your films are more like universal, I think.
I don't know. I like the career of Skolimowski, and I like his EO.
Of course. It's a great filmmaker with very many, very, very brave filmmaker, by the way. Like, he had a lot of experimentation in his days and stuff like that. But we appreciate your films. Festivals appreciate your films. How about Romania itself? Like, people in Romania, do they also welcome you warmly, or do you think that it's not like that?
No, I think it's impossible to speak about Romanians as a bloc, you know. So it's a lot of people with different perspectives about life, about history, about cinema, and some receive warmly the films. Younger critics, and I'm always happy they seem to appreciate. Many of them seem to appreciate my film. Not everybody, of course. Other critics don't necessarily, and the audience sometimes is almost non-existent or very little audience. Especially for the essay films. For the fiction films, is more, sometimes quite a lot, and especially after they are pirated or they are on television, it's everybody. I mean, there's many people who watches them. So no, I think it's very mixed, and one of the things that I think still cinema can do very well, and I think it should always do it, is to split audiences. So I always like the films who some people hate and some people appreciate. I really think they are. When I hear something like that, I meet, I don't know, 4 people and 2 tell me about a film is a masterpiece and 2 say it's horrible. I'm very interested in this film. I know it's something there. So I prefer the films to be divisive, and I think arts and cinema can help in actually making people coming together, accepting the differences. Mm-hmm. Because one of the problems is that we as a group, humans as a group, don't accept very well that people might think differently. So I think at least the arts can offer this exercise in accepting that you might like one film and I might dislike it, and we can still be friends, while if it's politics, it's very difficult to do it. But with cinema, I think it's still possible.
Well, yeah, being like at festivals especially is kind of an exercise in conversation, because you have to accept the fact that many people will not agree with your recommendations.
Yeah, but I think this exercise is an important one.
Yes, it's something we can use we should use in ideas. Yeah. So thank you so much for this conversation, and I hope that we'll see you around maybe next year with Dracula.
Oh, could be.
Or maybe with other projects, because you're probably like this time next year you probably have like 3 other films to show us.
I think one more.
Okay, so thank you so much again.
Thank you so much as well.